Any day. And there we go. What's up, everyone? Knicks for Clicks live, the second ever edition of our live stream. Bryce Gelman, Rami Lavi, here with you on a beautiful Sunday evening. What an amazing day out. If you're in the New York tri-state area, we get a 65-degree day. Both of us worked very early this morning, so I think it was a great reprieve from the horrors of the sports media world. Rami, how are you today?
My week's already off to a terrible start and hasn't even started yet. My sleep schedule is messed up because I was up late last night, worked early this morning. I was telling you offline that didn't have the greatest experience this morning for reasons that self-inflicted, sure. Yeah, not a great morning, but we then got home and passed out. So now I need to get back into a normal regular schedule so that I can go back to my regular routine, which includes working the Yankee games the next 2 days and then the rest of the week working on the morning show. So I don't know. I feel jet lag already.
You know the worst way to get back into a normal sleeping pattern?
Take a nap.
Taking a nap.
I know.
Taking a nap. You suck it up and you go through the rest of the day.
I know.
You don't sleep.
I know.
I tried to sleep last night. I was up. I went to sleep. I was pretty drunk yesterday. I'm not gonna mince words. I had a good day drink with a few friends. Watched the games. Got back. Passed out.
Yep.
Passed out at like 10 o'clock. I woke up at 1 a.m. Could not go back to sleep the rest of the night. So I'm off 3 hours of sleep. I worked this morning as well. And here we are now talking the New York Knicks. And we are going to start with you. What do you go? Get this out of the way, and then we're going to get into what we're going to talk about.
You know what's bad? Here's what's bad. I hadn't drank anything in like a solid few hours. It was probably 12, 13 hours by the time I was going to work since I had last taken a sip of anything. And I still felt like I had like tequila, like it wasn't on my breath, but I was like having like that tequila, like acid reflux, dumb whatever. Like, come on.
Well, what did you eat? You definitely ate something after you drank. You day drank. You got to eat.
Oh yeah, like tons of like steak and fried food. It was terrible.
There you go. You go. It's not from the tequila. It's from that, bud. I don't know what you're talking about. It's the tequila. Yeah, you had all that like terrible stuff for you.
Tequila a little bit. Like, ugh.
Yeah, no, I ended up having 7th Street Burger. I only have it when I'm drunk. It's amazing. It's the best.
Yeah. So again, not a great morning for me.
So let's transition into something else disgusting, and that was the Knicks' performance against the Nets the other night. They won. What was it? 93-92. 93-92 against a team with a horrid record, a team that talent-wise on paper is the worst team in the NBA. Roster-wise, there are a lot of teams that are hurt right now, have some young upstart talent off the bench or yada yada yada. This Nets team has zero talent, and you can make the argument that they don't really have any guy that you could look at and say this player will be one of the best players in the NBA in a few years. This team, the Knicks, crosstown rival, somehow almost won this game. Rami, what the hell happened?
And the worst part is, of that terrible roster and those terrible players, they were playing the lesser of those players. They sat all the guys who you'd think are better.
Porter Jr. doesn't even play in that game.
It's unbelievable. And I mean, it's not just like Porter Jr. It's Sharper. It's Noah Clowney. Like
Clowney
didn't play in this game. Like most of their starting guys, and I only know those names because I work on the broadcast. I would not know the Nets roster up and down like that. But again, it's just, would you have rathered, and this is a weird question, but would you have rather they almost lost the game, the Knicks, I never want to lose, especially not to the Nets, because then
they did almost lose the game. You mean you wish they lost the game?
I don't wish they lost it, but do you feel like sometimes the lesson is lost when you win? Like there needs to be a lesson from this. Like they can't come out tonight against Washington or Tuesday against New Orleans and have the same kind of performance that we've seen them have against Utah, against the Nets. Like there needs to be, and a couple, I forget which game it was. I think, was it the Indiana game? No, because the Indiana game, they played well without Brunson.
Well, they lost that Indiana game about a month ago.
Right. But what there was one game recently that they won that Brown was so pissed he didn't name defensive player of the game. It was last week or whatever. And he was really mad at them and he was yelling about it in the post game. Not the point. The point is, sometimes it's harder to take a lesson from a win And it's almost like you need to get punched in the face to like wake up. And this is now, I understand, and this is what we've talked about since we've started this show. I understand that it's tough to this regular season.
The game you're talking about was the Warriors game.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, I understand there's ups and downs, and they're really just playing for the playoffs. And what are you looking for in the regular season? We've had that conversation 1,000 times. But at the same time, you can't let yourself get into these terrible habits, because how are you just going to snap out of it? It doesn't work that way. And right now, like a gut punch or something to change it up, because not naming a defensive player of the game, that didn't work clearly against the Warriors, because they came out against the Nets and did the same thing.
Yeah.
What is it? 14 points in the first quarter? Against the Nets.
Second worst quarter of the year. They had that 12-point quarter against I'm which team did they have was that in the Jazz game?
That might have been the Jazz game.
They had 12 points in a quarter about a month ago after the All-Star break, from what I can remember. I'm sorry, the game is I'm forgetting that.
But this is the point. We've now listed like 5-6 games of the same thing, whether it's the Pacers game, the Warriors game, the Jazz game, now this Nets game. And we know there have been others where they're playing lesser teams and just playing down to their competition and just look sluggish and slow and like, hey, we'll turn it on. And what was more concerning about this one is even when they quote unquote tried to turn it on, like they never got, they were up 10 the end of the third quarter. And then all of a sudden they're right back in a tight game.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think that this team is so hot and cold. And it's getting to the point where, if you're watching this team on a nightly basis, you're like, when the hell are they going to finally lose one of these games? When are they going to find themselves in such a hole that they can't find their way out of it? And we've seen them piece together these late game victories led by the Knicks' first unit, or, sparked by a guy like Jordan Clarkson off the bench or whomever, where they win these games that they probably shouldn't have won. There is only one reason why they won this last game. It's because the Nets have the worst. That team, the one they rolled out with all the injuries, might have been one of the worst rosters and starting lineups that I've ever seen in my entire life. I commented to myself when I watched the opening part of the broadcast. I'm like, this is the worst starting lineup that I've ever seen. It's the worse than that meme that everyone puts up from the 2016 Knicks with Lou Amundsen in the starting lineup. Like that's the
Nets starting lineup from last night.
Yeah.
Or from Friday night, sorry.
Yeah.
Nolan Triari, Drake Powell, Zaire Williams, Danny Wolf, and Nick Claxton.
Yeah, I mean, you try to if I held a gun to your head and I named 4 of those players, I'm sure you know Nick Claxton. If you don't, he's a pretty good player. But if I held a gun to your head and I said, which team do these 4 guys play for? You probably couldn't get any of them. Danny Wolf, I guess, is a different one. That's actually
again not a good example for me, but yes,
yeah, one of my
average NBA
one of my best friend's girlfriend's first cousin. So I mean,
Danny Wolf?
Yes, yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, he was at the draft. It's good experience for him.
I
was happy for him. I'm happy for her family. Like, you get to go to Brooklyn. They're irrelevant. The tickets are cheap. You go across the bridge, and there you go.
What's crazy is they have him listed at 6'11", because if he was like a regular height, he just looked like an average. All right, I'm not going to say it, but
looks like an average Jew. Yeah.
Yeah. In Brooklyn is what I was going to say.
Yes.
You said it. I didn't.
Plenty of them there. That's also why I thought it was a good thing that he went to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You got a great population of Hasidic Jews there.
I know. And he would fit right in, other than the fact he's 2 feet taller than them.
Yeah. I mean, that nose, we could say this when we were both Jewish.
We're both Jewish, so
pretty big nose, and it's stereotypically huge nose. But no, yeah. So I want to get into that. I want to get into some of this game, and we were discussing this before we went live.
Yep.
But Jalen Brunson laid on in that game. The Knicks were up, and we looked over. The Knicks were up 84-79 with 7 minutes and 41 seconds left in the fourth quarter. I watched with my own 2 eyes. I saw Mike Brown insert Jalen Brunson back into the game. The Knicks had 0 offense. They had 0 offensive cohesion. The ball movement was non-existent with Jalen Brunson in the game. Listen, it wasn't night and day with him off the court versus him on the court, but he plays 41 minutes. So the majority of that game, in which they scored 93 points, was partially impacted by Jalen Brunson's presence on the court. So, Rami, they put him into the game with 7 minutes and 41 seconds to go. They score 9 points the rest of the game. In 8 minutes, 9 points. And Jalen Brunson scores 5 points down the stretch. It helps them win the game. But that only happens within the final 2 minutes of the game.
Correct.
My take on this,
yeah,
and I have a feeling that you're gonna hate me for this, is that if Mike Brown is willing to bench any player in the starting lineup, we really haven't seen it with OG Anunoby. I feel like that's the one guy the entire year in the starting lineup that no matter what, he provides you such good defense. You can't justify benching him if he's not having a great offensive game. Everyone else is expendable. The one guy besides OG, that's different because of his defense, the one guy who, if they don't have it offensively, who doesn't provide great defense, who hasn't been sat down the stretch of a game, is Jalen Brunson. And I just don't understand why there's a double standard there. We talk about Mikal Bridges and how bad he's been. We had John Jastrzemski on the podcast. Something we talked about was that Mike Brown needs to know when to pull Mikal Bridges. He needs to know when he does not have it working and is not providing anything on the offensive end. And his defense, Rami, let's call a spade, has not been what we all expected it to be. So it isn't enough to justify him finishing these games. So it's something we talked about with JJ. Why isn't this extended to Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, I don't know why it's not extended to Jalen Brunson, but here's what I'll ask you. And so just for context, first of all, the Nets cut the Knicks lead to 5 by hitting a 3. That's when Mike Brown decides, all right, I need to bring Brunson back in. Now, if I had to put myself in Mike Brown's shoes, what I'm guessing his thought process was let's get it back to 10 real quick here, and then I can get him off his feet and get him back out of this game. That's why he brings him in so early and not hold him for a little bit longer. Let's stop this Nets run. It's 5 now. Let's stop the run, get it back, and then instead,
yeah. Well, what happened?
Brooklyn goes on an 8-0 run over the next 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Not like an extended 8-0 run. It wasn't like a blink of the eye 8-0 run, but it was an extended run where the Knicks offense just goes to shit, like looks terrible. And you're sitting there and you're like, how's this happen? This was the reason you brought Brunson in, was for the opposite to happen. For, okay, let's get a couple of quick, easy buckets. And then down the stretch of the game, of course, he hits a couple of jumpers, has an assist to Carl, and they win the game. And overall in the game, Jalen Brunson was a +9 in a game that they won by 1, and he only was off the floor for 8 minutes. So, like, you know his impact is still there when you look at plus minus, which is not always perfect. But my question for you, because we've talked about this, you've talked about this on your TikTok, on Twitter, end of game. This has been a huge conversation. What is a better offense for the Knicks than Jalen Brunson catching a mismatch and going one-on-one, or if they double him, finding an open man? Like,
well, we're talking about over the last 2 minutes of a game, right?
Yes, that's still their best offense.
No, 100%, but that's only late game execution. I'm not even extending that to 2 minutes. It's with a minute and a half. Anything outside of that, if this is going to be the Knicks' only offense, they're not winning games.
That's true, but
unless Brunson is playing like Brunson plays at his best. And
but that's why I started with.
We've not seen that.
That's why, and that's true. By the way, this is not an excuse for Brunson. He hasn't played well enough. And you talk about a wake-up call. I started talking about that. What if there's a wake-up call? Like, the last game he didn't play in, the offense was flowing. And Josh was out there, and everyone's moving the ball and passing it. Like, does he see that?
That was the Indiana game.
That, right. And do we look at that like, hey, you know what? Maybe Bryce is right a little bit. You know what I mean? That's how I saw it.
I did. I mean, of course,
I know you. I know you did.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I mean, I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. It's like when you don't play him, a team. If you're considering him a top 10 player in the NBA, he's not been playing like it. But if you consider him to be a top 10 player in the NBA, a team without him in a game like that should not be playing that well.
But again, in the Nets game, they're -8 with him off the floor in 8 minutes. So like,
understood. But he played 41 minutes in the game. You don't really know what those other players could give you because you only gave it 7 minutes. So there's too small of a sample size to say, well, the Nets were so much better with Brunson off the floor. Well, he shouldn't have played 41 minutes a game. They scored 93 points in. Like that's on him. Like, doesn't matter what they did with him off the floor. It doesn't matter. He played 41 minutes and they couldn't get anything going offensively. And that was largely due to what he brought or didn't bring on offense. And when the Knicks were running the offense through Karl Anthony Towns, that's when they excelled.
Yeah, and the reason I started with, like, because you talked about how that may be their best offense the last minute and a half of the game. The reason I started with, I think Mike Brown was just trying to get a quick 7 to 10 point lead and then try and cruise to the finish line is because I think Mike Brown was looking at those. Okay, let's make these 2 minutes the last 2 minutes of the game. Let's get it to a 12-point game with 5 minutes to go, and then we can cruise to the end.
Yeah.
I think that's how he saw it, because he saw them start to pull away the end of the third. He saw that, right? They extended to 10 points. It feels like, all right, the Knicks, classic Knicks, like we've seen against the Warriors, like we've seen against Indiana, like we've seen against the Jazz, like we've seen so many times. They came out sluggish. They let the Nets hang in for way too long. But hey, they're pulling away to start the third quarter or to end the third quarter. If they start the fourth with the same momentum, we'll be right where we need to be. And then that didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you find yourself in the fourth quarter like, hey, how are the Nets?
But again, dude, like Mike Brown's not doing that with anyone else. And I understand that this is different. This is Jalen Brunson. But, like, he's not doing this with Mikal Bridges. He's not even doing this with Cat. If either one of those players is having a down game offensively, Mike Brown's first thought isn't like, oh, let's put him in. Let's see what happens. Let's go on a run. Like, it's not the case. With Jalen Brunson, we've come to the expectation that him coming into the game is automatically going to change things for the better. And it hasn't. At least over the last, few weeks post All-Star, he's had a few games sprinkled in here or there. But I think we could look at it objectively as a whole from a macro perspective, Rami. He has not been good enough to justify these, these minutes on a nightly basis, especially against the Nets the other day.
That's true, but I was at the Indiana game that they lost, arguably the worst loss of the season.
Yeah.
And this is just my feeling sitting there watching the game. When Brunson missed so many shots to either take the lead, extend the lead, pull them in front, tie the game down the stretch of that game. And yet every time he took the shot, I expected it to go in. And maybe that's, I don't know if it's a bias. I've never felt that way about Melo. I've never felt that way about any Knick that I've watched in my lifetime, that in the clutch moments, they were going to come through, because I've seen it so many times. And so even when he's having an off night, I still expect it to happen. He's different than everyone else. Why is he treated different? Because he is different. He's different than any other guy on the team. And because no matter how many times he misses, no matter how many times it doesn't go down, I expect the next one to go down. And so when I'm sitting there watching the game and I see him put up a shot that for other guys is not a great shot, I still expect it to go down, and I still believe that he's going to get the job done. So look, my job is, or Mike Brown's job is to take the emotion out of it. That's my emotion, right? Yeah. Mike Brown has to take the emotion out of it and coach based on facts and coach based on reality. And if, like you said, the last couple months since the All-Star break, really, Brunson is hurting the team and hurting the flow of the offense, he has to react to that. But again, I understand from an emotional perspective, you look at him and you say, what's our best shot to win this game? It's Brunson going and making it happen, because we've seen it time and time again. And by the way, and I don't know if this is true or not, because he's never gone into the playoffs this cold. I think every year, like down the stretch, he's been hot. And now it feels like he's going into the playoffs cold. But yet, when the playoffs start, don't you still think that the guy who's put up Michael Jordan-like numbers in the playoffs the last few years is going to show up when they need him? And all of a sudden, he's going to be I still feel like he's going to be a different guy in the playoffs.
We're going off vibes and feelings over facts. That's where we're at right now.
100%. I'm admitting that.
We are, as collectively as a Knicks fan, because I think I'm guilty of this as well. Collectively, all of us look at this situation as being like, oh, well, he'll figure it out. He's Jalen Brunson. He'll start making these shots. They're going to start to fall, right? What we've seen not historically, over the last 3 or 4 weeks is Jalen Brunson. Those shots are not falling. So instead of kicking the ball out to Cat more, letting the offense run through him more, you still see Brunson forcing the issue. And I don't want to stray from this, because it's very important for him to continue being this efficient. But like Cat, the volume hasn't been there at all. It has not. But the efficiency has. That's why the Knicks approach this situation of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why are we going to keep feeding the ball to Cat when we can continue giving him the ball and giving him the best looks possible, and he can create and hit those throughout the game?
Yeah, but some nights you wish he would take over and they would run it a little bit more through him, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a tweet because I found a great tweet about Brunson that I can't find it right now. Not the point. I should have looked at it before the show. There was a tweet about Brunson essentially saying what you just said, that had nothing to do with vibes, had nothing to do with emotion. It was based on facts. It was said, okay, here's what's happening with Jalen. the league has made a slight adjustment to him. They're playing bigger guys on him. They're doubling him. They're throwing size at him. They're playing physical with him.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, and they're staying down. Just put a bigger guy, hands up, stay down. Don't go for the footwork, pump fakes, all that stuff. And it's messed with his game. Now he'll adjust. He's gonna fire back. This is what happens in the NBA. We've seen him adjust multiple times already. He didn't get to where he is now because he's been the same player.
Here's the thing: that he doesn't need to carry this team. This team has enough offensive weapons. Each one of those guys in the starting lineup can score. You've got 3 or 4 guys off the bench who could score on their own. So why continue to force the issue? Because at some point, the defense is going to start respecting those other guys more, and you will get more opportunities, which is what I don't understand. To your credit, you said that other teams, and it's pretty clear what we've seen, is the other teams are not fighting for these pump fakes and the pivots and all the stuff that he does to try to get himself open, and that has clearly impacted his game. So instead of maybe being like, you know what, hey, listen, if I'm going to get all this attention, if they are, making such an effort to defend me differently, then maybe let's try to get other players involved, because these other players are devoting this much energy towards guarding me. But we've seen the opposite. His shot number per game, the amount of shots that he takes per game has not dropped at all. Where you're looking at how well Karl Anthony Towns has played, his volume has not gone higher. So it's almost like, if this is how he's going to play, if this is how the team is going to work as a whole offensively, why are they doing what they're doing still? It's almost the definition of insanity. Things are going the opposite way. Things are working differently, but you're going to stick with the status quo? Huh. That's my question. Historically, Brunson, the shots are going to fall, but for the time being, be a decoy out there some possessions. Touch the ball every possession. Yeah, every set that they run, I'd say 70% of the time he's on the court is for him.
I can't argue it. And my point is, I think that, and this is the only counter, is that in the playoffs, you're going to eventually need him to hit those shots. But like you said, wouldn't it be easier for him to hit those shots if other guys are now options? Wouldn't that make his job easier ultimately?
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if Cat could he's found it. Like Cat is playing the best basketball he's played all year. Not even close.
Arguably the best stretch when you consider the defense, the discipline, mentally and emotionally, the best stretch he's had, and efficiency, probably the best stretch he's had as a Knick.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. You could definitely make that argument. So we are watching this. We are watching OG Anunoby, a big catalyst for how well the Knicks been playing lately. Yes, it's Cap, but it's OG.
Yeah.
Being the backup option, he's been the second option.
Their record's something insane. When he scores 20 or more points, it's like
they don't lose.
Yeah.
They don't lose. And he's going right now. Like all these guys have momentum. Besides Brunson. Like he's had he had a bad stretch, followed it up with a couple of, 25 plus point games, but we have not seen the normal Jalen Brunson, no matter how well he's played in these games. Like he just, every time he touched the ball before, let's say the All-Star break, you're like, all right, like the Knicks are going to get a good possession offensively. There are a lot of times, sure, when the isolations get to a point where it's repetitive and it's coming, but like on average, when he takes the ball down the court, goes to his right, goes to his left, finds his spot, like those shots are going to fall. And we haven't seen that. And I know we're beating a dead horse here. We both agree on it. I think just like the methods to which we agree on it are different. But I think deep down, both of us understand it's an issue.
The only other point, and this goes back to something we've talked about 1,000 times, is that maybe this is what the regular season is. And it's like, hey, this is not what it's going to look like in the playoffs when we need to win games. But what are we doing in these games where we're just playing out a string pretty much, where we're just playing for seeding? You talked about it. Cat, no need to get him going. He's going. OG, no need to get him going. Let's get the guys who need to get going. And one of those guys is Brunson. And that's the biggest guy because, look, they've tried every game. If you look at the box scores from each of the last few games, the first, or not the box scores, but the play-by-play, the first few minutes, every single game, Mikal Bridges takes the first few shots because they're trying to get him going. He had 5 early points against the Nets. They're trying so desperately.
He also played in garbage time against the Pacers.
Right, to get him going, and he hit a couple threes.
Yeah.
That's the point. And the problem is they're trying to do the same thing with Jalen. They have to do the same thing with Jalen.
Well, listen, but it's nothing different. It's not anything different. Like, you can't look at it and be like, oh, they're trying to get him going now. It's just like, no, he's continuing to play the exact same way he always plays. There's nothing different about it. Like, when you have a ball dominant point guard like that, the ball's in his hands all the time. Like, you need to force the ball to Mikal because he doesn't get the ball. You know what I mean? Like, that's a conscious effort that
he's
you
not
make
aggressive enough.
in practice and in game plans. Like, all right, let's get the ball to Mikal. But Jalen, he always has it. The only deviation you can have when it comes to Jalen Brunson and his style of basketball is how many times he brings up the ball, right? Like, the sets that they run, they're largely focused on Jalen Brunson. But when he doesn't take the ball up, obviously he's not going to be involved in every single one of these plays. Yes, like he still is, and the majority of the time when they bring the ball up, they're trying to get him open off a back screen or a down screen or whatever. Like, I don't know. I've reached a point where it's like, this better not become an issue in the playoffs.
That's the only thing.
Better not become an issue in the playoffs. That's all I got to say.
That's where I'll change my tone to. This is a real problem. If they're losing games because he's not, and I believe him as a captain, him as the person we've seen, him as the athlete we've seen, he's going to put winning above all else. Yeah. I honestly believe that.
He will, but winning by himself. Like, he's going to do everything on his own. Like, yes, he'll dish the ball, but like, we have not seen him become selfless in a spot where he needs to be selfless. He looks at the situation of like, all right, well, the team needs me. The team needs me to play well. Either I'm going to continue shooting and the defense is going to have to respect it, and then I'll start, dishing, or I keep shooting and we live and die by my isolations. There's a reason why, you've seen in the past, other players have been frustrated about their role in the offense. And it's not because of the head coach. I mean, well, technically it is. Like, it's, like what happened with you this morning with the issue. It's like not necessarily your fault, but it's kind of your fault, right? Like, the higher ups haven't tried to make anything different, but it did happen.
Yeah,
with Brunson.
Yeah, you're right, and like that's the back and forth. But that's also kind of the leeway you get from being the guy who's hit those shots for now, years in a row, and for being the leader and being the guy who's been like the heart and soul of this team. We talked about getting guys going. The one guy who they've gotten going, just to transition real quick, because I feel like unless you had anything else on Brunson, I feel like we've talked about it enough, and it's definitely continued to be a conversation.
Let's do a few minutes on Clarkson. I'm currently I got an eye on this St. John's game, and now they cut it to 6. I don't mean to rush us off here, but we've done.
No, you're good. This is what the live is supposed to be. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's going on over here. But
see what's going on. You know what I mean?
Jordan Clarkson is a guy who's now inserted into the lineup and is providing real minutes and doing something that, like, he's actually really, like, his shooting. You talk about a guy who comes into a game ready to shoot, never tried to shoot it. That's Jordan Clarkson, and he's been a spark plug for them. And now it's like, you talk about playoff rotations, they definitely get tighter. Is he earning him? He went from a guy who Mike Brown has used kind of to get the offense going when they weren't playing well in a few games, to now, like, he's a major part of the rotation.
Yeah, I mean,
guy who's going to get postseason minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a game by game thing, because his offense is huge when they need offense.
By the way, which is what Mike Brown has been excellent with this year, is his feel for game by game, who's fits in which game.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this before. Like, Deuce McBride comes back, see ya, Jordan.
Oh, 100%.
Like, he'll get a few minutes here or there. They need offense.
Yeah.
They need creation on offense, not like a spark plug 3-point shooter. That's what Deuce is.
Correct.
But if they need offensive creation, they need someone to, put the ball in their hands, go out there and make shit happen. That's Jordan Clarkson. That's the break glass in case of emergency type player. And listen, it's a good person to have in that situation. It's like Marcus Bowe right now with the Giants. Like, that's a good swing tackle. Andrew Thomas, Jermaine Illuminor goes out. It's good to have him as your backup. Like, it's not James Hudson. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
when you've got a player like that, you have to rely on, like it used to be Deuce McBride. The Knicks tried and tried and tried and tried to make him an offense creator. And he's not that. Yep. He's not. Like, they needed to go out and trade for Alvarado because he's comfortable with the ball in his hands and he's able to create. They didn't feel comfortable enough in Deuce McBride to the point where, like, like they felt the need. They didn't need to trade for a guy like Jose Alvarado. It's just not Deuce McBride's game. So Jordan Clarkson as that guy, as the guy off the bench that could do that is massive. It's just like in games that they don't need Jordan Clarkson, he won't play.
The only guy who can keep him on the bench is Mikal Bridges, because that's supposed to be the guy who's supposed to be the secondary creator. And so, like, to me, that's the guy who can keep him on the bench, is Mikal doing what he's supposed to do. Not even just elevating his game, but just doing what he's supposed to do.
Infuriating watching that Nets game. Like, I did place a little wager on him. So it made me feel like, I've been clowning him so much recently. I'm like, all right, like, he's definitely going to get 20 points in this game. And, like, I bet 20 plus points or whatever. It wasn't great odds. I mean, I guess it was if it hit. But I'm standing there watching him the entire game. He runs to the corner and does nothing. He hasn't been cutting. He's literally, like, just no movement, just standing in the corner. And you know what I've noticed from opposing defenses is they're not giving up their spot. They're not coming and helping off Brunson, like, off their defender to help with Brunson driving to the paint with Towns. And look, it worked, because a large part of their game, especially Cat's, is drive and kick.
Yeah.
It's either Cat throws his arm around the defender and picks up an offensive foul. He somehow gets the basket, or he kicks out for a three. And we've seen these defenses play Brunson and Cat straight up, especially against the Nets. And look, it almost worked until they had a chance to win the game. They threw it to the guy furthest away for the basket,
that's another thing. And just to finish the thought on Bridges, is in 36 minutes, he's a -7. Like,
I mean,
it's unbelievable. In the other 12 minutes, that
infuriating. What is he playing for?
Yeah.
Doesn't even get a steal or a block. And I know that's a counting stat. I get that. Yeah. But nothing, no stock, not a single stock in 36 minutes. What the hell is he doing on the floor? Yeah. 36 minutes, Mike? Does that make sense?
One of the things that the Knicks excelled at under Tom Thibodeau, whether you like Tom or not, and it's a dumb conversation to have, we're not having the conversation, but one of the things they excelled at is late game execution. And what he said was, it wasn't about practice. It was about sitting in the film room and being familiar with
They didn't practice.
Getting it.
They didn't practice under Tom.
They didn't practice. They would just sit in the film room and get it nailed into your head over and over and over again, so it becomes second nature. You're not thinking in those moments. You don't want to be thinking. You want to just be reacting. That's what they always say. That's what, again, neither you or I were great athletes, but that's what athletes say. But that you just want, it just wants to be second nature. You don't want to be reacting. You just want to be instinctively doing those things. And they've taken a step back in that this year, I found. And that's something that against the Brooklyn Nets team, you had an opportunity to work on that against what's essentially a practice squad.
Yeah.
And you failed.
Yep.
And that's more concerning to me, or almost as concerning to me as any of the other stuff we talked about. You need to execute. Those are
can't keep playing down to your competition. You can't.
Against the Celtics, against any other team, against the Pistons, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they take advantage of those mistakes.
Yeah.
You can't have self-inflicted.
If you lose to a team like that, you're the other team could hit 33s. You know what I mean? Like, it could be because of them. Like, the Knicks could have lost that game. That would be completely on them. But listen, that's something we're going to discuss as time goes on. We've got 3.5 weeks now until the playoffs. Not a long period of time. The Knicks are now in the stretch run of their season. We will continue coming to you live every Sunday. And as the season winds down, comes to an end, they're going to start getting 2 podcasts a week along with the live stream.
Yep.
And stay tuned. Listen, we've got guests coming for you. We got Sal Licata in our first video. We got John Jastrzemski in our second. Stay tuned. We've got a bunch of guys lined up for you, ready to go. Potential giveaway. So stay tuned. Rami and I have a lot planned for you. It's a very exciting time. Hopefully, if Brunson starts hitting his shots. If not, then this will be a very depressing podcast. So, Rami, great stuff as always. I need to go to sleep soon. I can't even keep my eyes open. I'm sure I guess you took your nap. So
I'll be watching the Knicks.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the Knicks do play in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
So I won't be getting sleep until after that. Terrific. Go Knicks. If the line is like 21.5. If the game's even close, could be
St. John's lead down to 1, by the way.
Okay, well, all right, that's gonna do it. We gotta go watch that. All right, go Knicks. Talk soon, everyone.
All right. We'll see you.